Russia's Islam Makhachev takes on Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title in just under 2 months, with many expecting it to be a fight for the ages. However, one of Oliveira's former opponents, Justin Gaethje, has recently given the Dagestani-American Kickboxing Academy man a word of warning in the build-up to the bout. Today, we're discussing Gaethje telling Makhachev to beware of the Brazilian and how hard he hits. Stay with us. Let's jump straight in then. What did Gaethje have to say? Makhachev and Oliveira are currently on a combined win streak of 21 straight wins, 10 for the Russian and 11 for the Brazilian. But someone's record has to go when the pair come face-to-face at UFC 280 in October. However, with the fight just a matter of weeks away, Oliveira's last opponent, Justin Gaethje, has handed the #1 contender a stark warning. Justin was full of praise for his former foe, saying at UFC 278 recently, "I'm 100% confident that Islam will not dominate Charles." Oliveira has suffered from people writing him off throughout his whole career, so people suggesting Islam will dominate him is just another day at the office for the Bronx. Gaethje went on to say, "I think Charles is going to move forward. Islam's going to try to wrestle and eventually he might be successful. And if he is, he'll win. But I don't see him tiring Oliveira out. Even if he takes him down for the first 2 rounds, I don't see Charles getting submitted. And I don't see him being too exhausted to continue to fight the fight that he needs to fight." Of course, Oliveira has some of the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the entire UFC, so Gaethje's comments might not be too far off the mark. If it does go to the floor, Charles is just as dangerous off of his back, so Makhachev will himself need to be careful of being caught by Oliveira. What do you make of Gaethje's comments? What else did Justin have to say then? Stay tuned to find out. Well, Gaethje knows exactly what it's like to get hit by an Oliveira shot. Having been submitted by Charles back in May, the rear naked choke was actually set up by a huge right hand from the Brazilian, who dropped Gaethje to the canvas. And speaking about what Makhachev can expect once he actually gets in there with the Bronx, Justin said, "My last fight, Charles was brilliant," before revealing that it wasn't just the knockdown which hurt him, but that the former champ hurt him often and early. Kind of what you might expect from a former champ, am I right? Gaethje actually admitted to being hurt as early as the 10th second of the very first round, before going on to say, "I was really hurt, and probably 4 times after that." Describing the actual feeling of being hit by the 12-year UFC veteran, Justin revealed, "I felt something I never felt in the cage. It's a feeling I've never felt. Usually you get hit, you call it a buzz, call it a flash. This is more like my tongue just went on a super powerful battery and my entire body was crazy. It was perfect shots, perfect time, one or the other." Of course, Makhachev will be aware of the power Oliveira has and won't be just concentrating on his ground game. We cannot wait for this one. Who have you guys got? Let us know below. Chael Sonnen has given his take on Justin's comments now. Don't go anywhere. As we know, nobody can have an opinion on MMA without Chael Sonnen's say-so. And after Justin Gaethje's comments on the Makhachev versus Oliveira fight, Sonnen was on hand to break down exactly what the highlight was saying. Of course, the fight will probably be the most difficult in Makhachev's career so far, but Sonnen sought to clarify what Justin might have meant when he said Islam won't dominate Charles. He said Gaethje did not predict Oliveira. He did not predict Islam. I want to give you his quote one more time. "I am 100% sure that Islam will not dominate Oliveira. If Islam can't dominate him, Islam's not going to beat him." Sonnen then questioned if Justin was actually saying that Islam doesn't have the ability to take Oliveira down whenever he wants, which he probably was. You don't get to the level of Charles Oliveira by being dominated by prospects, and Sonnen finished by saying that what he read from Justin's words was, "That means Islam is not going to take Oliveira down whenever he wants." Do you guys agree? Next up, might Khabib be lured back if Makhachev fails in his bid against Oliveira? Literally ever since the great Khabib retired following his fight against Justin back in October 2020, there have been questions surrounding whether or not he could, at some point, be tempted back. And given the fact that Nurmagomedov and Makhachev actually trained together, some have suggested that the dominant former champ could be tempted back to exact revenge should Charles beat Islam. In the build-up to the fight actually being announced, Charles responded to Khabib, telling him to forget about Conor McGregor, saying, "I'll beat him, Makhachev." So who knows, maybe you, Nurmagomedov, come out of retirement and come too. Each one says what they want. I am the division's problem. I have one of the best jiu-jitsu games in the division and in the UFC. I think these guys are talking too much. They want to get in my mind, but that's not possible. Charles went on to call out Khabib for a change in attitude, saying how when he was champion, he never spoke about other fighters and called them out. But now that he's retired, that's all he seems to do. Speaking about the prospect of fighting the Eagle in the future, Charles went on to say, "I'll beat Islam Makhachev and then challenge Khabib to come back from retirement. It's the fight everyone will want to see." Isn't that what everyone will want to see? Everyone says that Khabib is expletive tough. I respect him a lot, but lately he's been talking too much. Next up, Charles has been speaking about that knockdown in his fight against Gaethje. Stay with us. As you will remember, Oliveira was knocked down in his fight against Justin Gaethje before going on to submit the American, which just served to add to claims from people around the world of MMA that he is beatable. Oliveira regularly gets dropped in his fights, but usually recovers to win, which he has been discussing recently. Speaking about the Gaethje knockdown with fellow Brazilian Damian Maia, Bronx explained what was going through his mind when the highlight landed that big right hand. Of course, he's one of the best at pulling guard, and when fighters follow him to the ground to try to apply some ground and pound, it usually ends in Oliveira seeing out the round or fully recovering. He said, "One of my worries was his calf kick, so I was dodging my leg all the time because of the calf kick, and he hit me anyway, and I took the first knockdown, an uppercut. I took that knockdown and people joked because I sat down." Charles, who last tasted defeat against Paul Felder back in December 2017, went on to explain that when you're in trouble, you revert to what is most comfortable, which is entirely understandable. Bronx went on to say, "I felt it, so I'll sit down. Then I took a cross punch, felt it, and sat down again. I said I'm just gonna breathe." What did you guys make of Oliveira's words? Makes sense, right? And finally, we're discussing a recent Gaethje call-out now. Stay tuned. Having been conspicuous in his absence over the summer, Justin Gaethje has recently been called out by a fellow lightweight who is making a charge up the rankings. Kazakhstan's Rafael Fiziev, who most recently beat legendary lightweight Rafael dos Anjos via fifth-round knockout, took to the mic in the post-fight conference to call out Gaethje. Fiziev is currently on a 6-fight win streak and clearly sees Gaethje as a good matchup for him, recently saying, "Bro, I don't see why Gaethje, don't ask for me. Maybe it's because you're a dangerous fighter and Justin needs a win." However, Adaman went on to suggest that everyone in and around Justin in the division has fights lined up in the near future, so a fight with him makes the most sense. And whilst he might be right, Gaethje might want to go away and work on his game for a while after losing twice in the past 3 fights. Fiziev continued, "He fought with everybody in the top 5. Fight with me, bro. Hey Justin, if you see this, fight with me, bro. I'm your money now." It is also thought that Gaethje is recovering from nose surgery, so it might be a little while longer before we see him again in the octagon. Who would you like to see him fight next? As usual, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to tune in again next time when we will be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a big favor by liking today's video, whilst also sharing it with any MMA fans you know of. Bye guys.